Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. If you haven't seen part one of my Saw franchise ranked video, you can check it out right here. We were looking at 9 through 6 on Tuesday. Today, we're talking about the top 5 movies that I've ranked in the franchise. These are the 5 that I recommend among all the other movies in the franchise. I think these 5 are the best examples of the Saw movies as a whole, and ones, again, like I said, I highly recommend. And we're just going to get right down into it. Coming in at number 5 was a great return to form for the franchise after what I felt was a confusing outing in Saw 4. It really told more of Hoffman's story and was just a great movie overall. Coming in at number 5 is Saw 5. Whereas Saw 4 was Hoffman's introduction as Jigsaw's apprentice, Saw 5 was really his coming out. More of the traps were some that or ones that he created himself, and it just had this feel to it, because we already know by this point in Saw 5, John Kramer's dead, so Amanda and Hoffman are taking over his legacy. I felt that the traps in this one were much higher stakes because you had the 5 people trapped in the room. This wasn't the first time we've seen multiple people trapped in a game. We saw that back in Saw 2 as well. But this time, knowing that they all could, coming to the end of it, again, much like last video, heavy spoilers from here on out. Knowing that all of them could have saved each other during all the traps, and just shows how survivalist you can get when it comes right down to it, because all of those traps could have been won if they all worked together, if they weren't all out for themselves and taking people out one at a time, because this game only saw 2 survivors at the end of it. Survivors, we'll call it that, because ooh, that's another trap. It's not on the level of, say, the spike trap in Final Chapter, or the needle pit that I'll talk about in Saw 3 when that one comes up. But putting the hand in like that and having it saw right up your arm, ooh, that was grisly. That was one of the most grisly traps I've ever seen. And it was Saw 2 that the needle pit was in, not Saw 3. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, there was a lot to love about Saw 5. I love the story in it, how Hoffman just kind of made it so Agent Strong looked like the Jigsaw accomplice when it was him the whole time. So, and just the casting as well, like everybody they had in that. I was saying in the video the other day about having Carlo Rota and Julie Benz from Boondock Saints and Boondock Saints 2 in this movie. But just a great cast. And Shawnee Smith, again, always shines through in any of the Saw movies she's in, no matter if it's the first one where she just had a limited role, the role she had in Saw 2, or Saw 3, she had a heavier presence in that one as well. But the whole cast, just fantastic. Great story. Tobin Bell, as always, is just mesmerizing to watch. And Saw 5, wonderful movie. Coming in at number 4 is the movie that came after this one. I saw this at one of my friend's place, and it was just after I saw the first 5 movies, and this one blew me away. I thought the traps were more elaborate, the game was more deadly, and it was just a more well done movie overall. Coming in at number 4, Saw 6. It kind of sounds weird to say, but watching Saw 6 made me think a lot about my dad, honestly, because there's one part in the movie where John Kramer is talking to the head of an insurance firm, and the guy has piranhas in a fish tank in his office, and John Kramer, after giving just this wonderful soliloquy, just walks up to him, piranha. Wow, that'd be something my dad would say and do. So I mean, Saw 6 gets points for that one right away. But overall, I love the message behind this movie. Like I said, John Kramer just has a wonderful soliloquy in this part, and it's one that I think of often because it's so true. Again, casting was very well done. Everyone in this movie, Darius McCrae, who played Eddie Winslow in Family Matters, was in this movie. So hands down, again, makes it a great, great movie. But like I said, the traps are more elaborate in this one. You had that big final trap. Whew. Oh, when that thing came down with all those hypodermic needles, and oh, that blew me away when I saw that, because you were thinking it was going to be one thing, and then it ended up being something else, and it was just left me with my jaw on the floor watching this. So amazing, so well done. And like I said, Saw 6 was just a great, great movie overall. Coming in at number 3 is the movie where it really started to embrace the title of torture porn, because you saw it a lot more. Whereas the first movie was more cerebral, it was more of a thriller more than anything. We'll get to that one in a couple minutes. But this one took that torture porn mantle and just ran with it, honestly. I hate saying that because I don't like the term torture porn. It makes, no, you don't want, no, I'm not getting into that one. But this was a great follow-up to a wonderful first outing. It was the first of a series of Saw movies directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who would return for Spiral. He would also direct Saw 3 and Saw 4, which would be the last one he would direct until Spiral, which it was great they got him back to do that one. You could tell that was a Darren Lynn Bousman directed movie. And for the first time, we really got to know John Kramer as well. Coming in at number 3, Saw 2. Saw 2 was such a great follow-up to Saw. There was just everything to love about this movie, from the casting. Really the first time you saw Tobin Bell really shine as John Kramer. Donnie Wahlberg as the detective in this. Eric Knudsen as his son, who would carve out a little bit of a horror legacy of himself being in Scream 4. I really knew Eric from the role he played of Dale Turner on Jericho, so had that going for him. And Frankie G, who has played with, started in a movie with Donnie Wahlberg and Mark Wahlberg, because he was in The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg, Jason Statham, Charlize Theron. That is a great movie, but well, I'll talk about that one another time. But Saw 2, again, such a great follow-up. We learned a lot about John Kramer in this movie, because we didn't really know much about him. We just knew he was a cancer patient in the first one, and that reveal at the end, I'll get into that a little bit later on. But yeah, and this is the first one. Well, Shawnee Smith was in the original one, but she had such a small role that they brought her back for this one, and she just shone in this role of Amanda. She was just one of the best things about this. Starting as the person who had been in, or you're thinking she's a person who's been in a trap before, not knowing the whole time she was in on it. I didn't think I have to say spoilers because you already know. So this movie with just the heightened fear behind it, because you had the addition of this neurotoxin that everybody was breathing in while trying to escape this trap. Great traps in this one too. Some of my favorites include the cremation stove. That was a great trap with Obby. I love during the movie when they're all making their way around to go down the basement, and the one guy there, he picks up the ammo and goes, "What the hell's an Obi?" He says something else, but I can probably get away with it, but I won't. "What the hell's an Obi?" "Oh, Obi." Obi-Wan Kenobi. "Obi. It's my name." And they still call him Obi. Like when they play the tape, "Hello, Obi." He just corrected you. I think you should know his name because he was helping you there, Jigsaw. But yeah, I thought Avi's character was great as well, even though he did get burned up. Had another great trap with the razor wrist trap. That was intense. And then, of course, I've been talking about it, the needle trap. The only one to make me squirm. Only other one to make me squirm that didn't involve eyeballs. Yeah, there was just something about seeing that pit full of dirty needles that just made my skin crawl. Especially when Xander picks up Amanda and just chucks her in. She lands on everything and is just rolling around there with all these needles sticking out of her arm. Like, oh no, stop, stop, please stop. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, it was. Oh, yeah. That trap makes me squirm every time I see it, and it's just ooh. But Saw 2 again, such a great follow-up to Saw, and these, this one, Saw the original and Saw 3. If you just stopped there with those three, this would be a great franchise. But Twisted Pictures wanted to make a little bit of that money, and I can't blame them. You go with a moneymaker, a proven moneymaker like the Saw franchise. But Saw 2, fantastic sequel. And, sometimes sequels get a bad rap. I won't say this one is better than Saw, but it was really damn good and a very good follow-up to the first one. We're not going to talk about the first one just yet because coming in at number 2 is, oh my God, I absolutely, as far as the sequels go, this is my favorite of the sequels. But I can say that about quite a few movies in some franchises. Like well, I'm not going to get into that one yet because I'm going to save that one for last. But if you take a look at Halloween, I thought Halloween 2 was just a great follow-up to Halloween, and it is my favorite of the sequels. I've talked at length about Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which we'll be covering next week, but I'll go ahead and tell you this right now, that Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, is my favorite sequel of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So, followed by New Nightmare. Technically not a sequel, but... And if you look at Scream, Scream 2 is my favorite of the sequels of the Scream series. So, but this one is my favorite of the sequels, and we learn more about John Kramer, and whether he may have died in this one, his legacy continued on after this, but this was a perfect way for him to go out in this one. Coming in at number 2, Saw 3. I love a movie that can do a good bait and switch, and that's exactly what Saw 3 did with its story. We'll get into the story in a little bit, but I gotta rave about the traps in this one because I think the traps were the absolute best in the series in this one. You had my favorite trap of all time, the Twisty Trap. That one was awesome. Just having the guy up there and just twisting his body in all different ways was just brutal, and hearing all the snaps, or no, wait. Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was thinking of Saw 2. I was thinking of Saw 3 because for this trap, because this was slow ass Jeff. He was slow. I have to agree with James A. Janice on that one. He was so slow, but it still doesn't take away from the greatness of this movie. Again, casting. You had the guy who played Robert the Bruce in Braveheart playing as Jeff. You had the return of Shawnee Smith and the return of Tobin Bell as Tobin Bell as John Kramer. First time we got to meet John Kramer's wife as well. She was just in a little flashback, and I love how they kind of layer in things along the way too, because you see this one point where John's having this flashback to his wife. I forget her name. It's been a while since I watched the series. I'm gonna have to do that again. Jill Tuck, that's it. Where you see this memory of John with Jill, and you see Abby walking along the way. I love how they intercut things like this. So somebody who was just momentarily in like Saw 2 pops up again in Saw 3. And they did that quite a bit during the franchise, because this is where we first meet Detective Hoffman. I don't think he had a name at this point, but he was just a nondescript detective with, oh God, what was her name? Allison. With her, because this was the final movie she was in. That Angel of Death trap she was in was just brutal. She was still looking for, what's his face? Detective Matthews, played by Donnie Wahlberg. He would return for Saw 4. I didn't talk about that in the last episode. Oh well. She was still looking for his character, Detective Matthews, and just her end was just brutal. And it was meant to be brutal because that was Amanda's trap that she made, and it was unwinnable. And John Kramer did not like that. He wanted people to learn their lesson. If they died, oh well. But if they got out and learned their lesson, more power to them. And Amanda's traps were unwinnable, and he did not like that because he despised killing, even though people were dying in his traps. I don't get the logic myself, but I'm not going to argue. It's still made for a hell of a movie. Saw 3, like I said, is my favorite of the Saw franchise, of the sequels, we'll say. I don't... It might have been as good as the original, so let's just get right into it. My favorite film in the Saw franchise, of course, is the original Saw. The one that started it all, Saw. Written by Leigh Whannell and James Wan, directed by James Wan, starring Leigh Whannell, and a great cast behind it. Leigh Whannell was a little wooden because it was his first time acting in a big budget movie. But with the people they got around him to act with him, Cary Elwes, Tobin Bell. He played Zepp in the movie. I can't remember his name. Michael Emerson, that's it. Danny Glover. Yeah, Danny Glover as well. Oh my God, I forgot he was in this movie. But the cast they got, Monica Potter as Cary Elwes' wife, Lawrence Gordon's wife. What an amazing cast they had for this movie. A great story. Like, people say that the Saw franchise devolved into torture porn. I know, you've already heard me say that a lot throughout both these videos, but it's true. This one was far from that. It was more of a psychological horror movie because you had these two guys locked in this bathroom going back and forth for a time period while everything else was going on, where Zepp had his own game going on with Dr. Gordon and his family, and just everything we found out about Adam as well, like spying on Dr. Gordon, who almost cheated on his wife. That doesn't forgive it, I know, but I'm more lenient to people who have like sudden crisis of conscience and don't go through with something. Oh, sorry, I got something in my eye. I mean, if Dr. Gordon went through with it, that'd be one thing. I would have condemned him, but he had that moment of crisis of conscience, and I think that might have helped him out. I don't know, given what happens later on, because he he saws his own foot off. That's about as bloody as it got, I felt. But I thought overall Saw was a fantastic movie. So well done, so well executed. James Wan, being for a first-time director, he did a really good job of direction of this movie. The script was solid by Wan and Leigh Whannell, and everything just had that layer of grit to it that I appreciate. Yeah, the first Saw movie, highly recommended to anybody. Don't go in thinking it's a torture porn movie, because it's not. It's far from it. It's more cerebral than anything. So don't expect a whole lot of traps and a whole lot of blood, because you're not going to get it. Because that's really one of the things that a lot of people don't understand with most horror movies. They look at like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Halloween, and oh, it's such a bloody movie. No, there's really no blood in Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Halloween. There is some in Saw. I'm not gonna lie. There is some, because that's where the money is, but not a whole lot. It's very cerebral, very well done, well directed, well produced, and just great overall, and I highly recommend it. But what did you think of the Saw franchise? Let me know down in the comment section down below. I'd really love to read what you thought. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. In the description, you're going to see a link to all of the ways you can help support this channel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and Reddit. You can get your Irish Bandit merchandise at my Redbubble shop. You can pick up my very first novel, Shade Falling, on Amazon. And now you can buy me a coffee. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a brand new video goes live. I will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. with another great playthrough of Dead by Daylight. I'm going to be playing as Leatherface this time around. And then Saturday and Sunday at noon, I will be back. This is all Saskatchewan time, remember. I'll be back playing another great playthrough of Blair Witch. Yeah, that's what I'm playing on both days. And I'll be right back here Tuesday and Thursday, counting down the ranking. Hey, video's almost over. What can I say? I'll be ranking all the movies in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. One of my all-time favorites. Absolutely love every movie. Well, almost every movie, but even the ones that I don't like have a bit of a redeeming factor to them. But either way. And then looking ahead, I'll be back playing more Dead by Daylight next week, and hopefully finishing out, if I haven't finished it already by the time this video goes live, hopefully finishing out Blair Witch. Why do I keep forgetting that? It's been a great game so far. Hopefully finishing out Blair Witch, and then I'm ranking them all 12 movies in the Friday the 13th franchise. I'll be doing that on the 30th and the 31st for Halloween, just in time for Halloween. So hope you can join me for that. Until then, I'm the Bandit, and I'll talk to you again very soon.